Back in 2019, beautiful souls and beautiful empaths, I woke up from abuse. Not only did I wake up from abuse, but I also discovered narcissism. But I knew in my mind, and I knew what I had seen. So I knew there was much more of a spiritual aspect to this whole thing, to this whole encounter. So what I did, I went very deep and I started looking for answers. I was very hungry and I was very, very aggressively looking for answers because I wanted just to gather all these things and to find out what exactly had just happened. And I had a lot of questions in my mind. I had so many questions in my mind and very, very few answers or even less answers. So I had a lot of questions as to why, how, and when. So later on, that was about a couple of months ago, a couple of months later on after that incident, I met a second narcissist, which narcissist I believe was an ultra narcissist, was actually a greater narcissist. That narcissist also did the same things like I'd experienced before. In a few weeks, I'd already figured out what was going on. But not only did I figure out what was happening, the narcissist also confirmed to me that I was actually an empath. Now, that situationship didn't go anywhere. I just cut the cords and I went out of that. I stepped out of there. Now, in this video, we are going to discuss exactly what is the whole meaning and what is the whole spiritual meaning behind the narcissist and the empath encounter. The spiritual aspect behind this whole thing. We're going to dive deep in a bit. I'm going to go find a seat somewhere and we're going to talk about this. Let's do this. So good morning, good evening, and a good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Denzimos, and I welcome you to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. If it's your first time here and narcissism resonates with you, I encourage you to join us. Like the page, share with your friends, subscribe. For the ones who've always been with me, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. Now, like I've been mentioning earlier, after my awakening, I met the second narcissist, a much more worse one than the first one even. And that narcissist confirmed to me that I was an empath. But not only did she confirm to me that I was an empath, I realized that actually she had much more similar patterns, actually even much more worse and toxic patterns than the first one that I'd already met. And that is what made me realize that actually I was not going to take that route. I was not going to walk that journey. So I very quickly cut the cords. I stepped out of there. I blocked everything and I moved on with my life. And I've never looked back for whichever reason. Now, for me drawing back, I sat down and I started thinking for some time. I was thinking, okay, so if it's true that I was an empath, how come that as an empath I've always been meeting these kind of individuals? Because at the end of the day, everything came back to me. Everything started making sense and the whole thing came back to me. And I was thinking, okay, so how come that I've usually been meeting these individuals for a very long period of time? For the most of my life, I can guarantee you people, it does not matter whether somebody was my friend, it does not matter whether it was a relationship partner, I'd always met these kind of individuals on my way. And the question was why? And believe me, people, that only question of why, it got me into a very long period of research. I started going into research. I started trying to find out exactly what is this whole narcissist and empath thing. What is going on exactly? I started digging deep. And for the most of you who know my videos and who have been watching me for a while, you know that on narcissism, I go very deep and I go into the spiritual aspect of this whole thing. So I really go deep into the spiritual perspective of this whole encounter. But also along the way, that was this year in, it was about March or it could have been like February or March, something like that. I saw a video from HG Tudor. That video was called Divine Intervention. Now, that video, personally, it confirmed to me what I'd always been talking about. For as long as I've been talking about narcissism, it has always been on spiritual level. And that video confirmed to me exactly what had I been talking about all along. And in that video, HG Tudor said the narcissist and the empath encounter is not a coincidence. So this whole thing has been divinely guided. Now, my second question came now, okay, so it has been divinely guided, but still, why does the empath still have to end up with the narcissist? And then I found out that actually these individuals, they are spiritually crying for help. The narcissists, they will not tell you this because they are guys with a very big ego, and they are guys who will not accept this. They will not agree. But these individuals, they are guided to the empath for a very specific reason. That is because it is only the empath who has the ability to balance out the narcissist. The empath has got the ability to balance out the narcissist. By that, what I mean is that when the empath, you meet the narcissist, most of the cases you realize that actually when you're with them, all of a sudden you've met them in the beginning, and they have, for some reason, somewhere down the road, like a couple of months you are down the road, they're already glowing. They're looking better than they looked before when you just met them. It's just because that most of the cases we don't see these things in the beginning. We cannot see this. They appear with the mask. They wear the mask in the beginning. So we cannot really see the whole picture of what is going on behind the scenes. But if you're a person who knows how to discern these individuals, and you can simply look behind the mask, because you can always look behind the mask. If you have learned how to discern these beings when you meet them, these individuals, you can have the ability to look behind the mask, and you will know that at the beginning point of everything, it is not exactly what they are telling you that they are. They are not actually giving you the whole picture. They are really hiding a lot behind the scenes. So the empath, for some reason, I think that actually God actually guides us to these individuals, because these are individuals, they are spiritually corrupt, and these are individuals who are spiritually, they really need help. They are actually crying for help. I can call it like that. They are spiritually crying for help. For the narcissists who have awakened, like I've said in my videos, the narcissists, they also awaken, but they awaken to the fact that they're narcissists. Even that they cannot do anything about it, and they cannot fix nothing about themselves. They awaken to some degree, and they find out that they're narcissists. So for the most of them who awakened, they realize that actually their problem is much more deeper than they actually thought. Because for them in the beginning, well, before the narcissist advances, before the narcissist advances in their game, they don't know what they're dealing with. They don't have an idea of what they're dealing with. But the narcissist who awakens, they will realize that actually they are dealing with something very spiritual, and they don't have control over this. For the most of the cases, the empaths, I have got a strong belief that God actually guides us to these individuals. God will guide us to these individuals because God knows that these individuals, at some point in time, we can come into their lives and actually we can make a very big difference. And most of the cases, it has actually happened. When we came into their lives, we impacted their lives in a very much more positive way, and we made a very big difference in their lives. And most of them, they know this. Even though they will not tell you and they will not accept that, but most of them, they know this. So it is not by coincidence. This whole thing is not by coincidence. That video, what I did, last year, that was last year, the video what I did when I said that when the narcissist misses the last bus, all I was trying to say is that usually God will guide us to these individuals. Because I want you to ask yourself a question. You are an empath, yes? You are an empath. How many times in your life have you actually met another empath? It does not matter again whether those individuals have been in your workplace, whether they have been in your life as a partner, whether they have been in your friend circle or whatever. You can ask yourself, how many times in your life have you actually met another empath? I can guarantee you for myself, for the 40 years of my life, I've only met an empath one time in my life. That was once in my lifetime. I can remember properly, I've met an empath only once. But the rest of the individuals, they have been down that same category. I've been always following the people along that line. Very toxic individuals. And I can guarantee you as well that for the most of the ones that I've usually been meeting, for the most of the ones who have crossed my path and who have crossed my way, who have met me along the way, I have not left them the same. I have impacted them in a very much more positive way, and I've not left them the same. Even then, that they have left me drained, and as well, because for all of you, the empaths, you know that when you meet these individuals, at the end of the day, they drain you, they drain you of your energy, and at the end of the day, when they notice that you're out of fuel, They throw you down somewhere and they discard you and they run off to somebody new. That is simply because they have sucked all the energy out of you, and the only thing left is like there's nothing more to take from you. There's nothing much more to offer. So they just run off and go meet somebody new. But at the end of the day, I always strongly believe that God wants to sometimes to bring some kind of a balance to some individuals. And the empath, me personally, I have taken this whole situation and overturned it to work in my favor. Because if I didn't meet the narcissist in the first place, I would never know that I was an empath. If I did not meet a narcissist, if I had not been meeting them on the way, I would never really know who I am. I would never be the person I am today, and I would never really know I was an empath. Like on my page, that day when I did that video about the last bus, when the narcissist missed the last bus, somebody made a comment in that video and they said that, okay, so do you really think that if God really loves the empaths, he would actually allow these narcissists to meet us on the way? I can guarantee you that, people, there is nothing in this universe and there's nothing in this world happens by coincidence. Everything is divinely guided and divinely everything that happens in our realities, it is not a coincidence. Everything is divinely guided. You cannot end up with a narcissist by coincidence. Those individuals, they have been brought to your life because you are the person who is going to shine the light on their lives. You are the person who is going to actually even help them to some degree. Even then, they will not help you. They will not tell you that they are there for help. They are with you because they need help. They are spiritually corrupt and spiritually bankrupt. They are actually crying for help. This individual, they are crying for help. And the only person who can help them, that is why you see it is very difficult to find a narc-to-narc encounter. It is very difficult to find a narcissist who will meet another narcissist and they will have a very successful relationship or even a friendship. It is very, very difficult because these are two toxic individuals and they are going to feed off each other until even destroy, even sometimes they can even kill each other because it is a very toxic cocktail. So they cannot handle each other. They have got to meet an empath. It is only the empath who can manage to stand up to that BS and to stand up to those individuals as long as they meet them on the way. It is only the empath who has got the ability to absorb that level of energy, because I can guarantee you, people, if you have been with these individuals, you can understand from me. If you have not yet been with them, I don't pray you meet them on the way. But for the ones who've always met them on the way, you can concur with me and you can agree with me. This is they have got a different level of energy. That level of energy, the only person who can absorb that level of energy is the empath. It is only the empath who will stand with the narcissist, who will sit with them, who will absorb that level of energy, because I can guarantee you, even sometime you enter the house, you enter the room, and you can already feel that energy. You can already feel what is going to happen next. You can just feel what is going to happen next just by being in their presence. Even just by sitting at them, you can know. For me, it has gotten to that whereby my spirit of discernment has gotten very high, whereby even just by sitting next to a person, even if they don't mention to me that they are narcs, I will just simply know there's something wrong with these individuals. I will just know, because I will detect that frequency. It is a very, very low frequency. It is a very different kind of energy. You can detect that frequency radiating from those kind of individuals. So basically, what you need to understand in this video, people, you do not meet a narcissist by coincidence. That process is carefully and divinely guided. Number one, God will put you with God will put the narcissist with an empath, because the empath is there to help the other individual, to balance out the other individual, because it is only a person with a good soul can balance the other person with the corrupt. And even sometimes it is only the empath with a good soul that can balance out the narcissist. Without that, they cannot survive, they cannot manage, they cannot live. On the other hand, all the empaths, especially on these online media platforms, and most of the cases on the empaths who are following me, even sometimes on other channels, most of the empaths, they have discovered that they're empaths after engaging narcissists. It is only the narcissist who will awaken the empath to the truth of who they are. Like I've said, guys, in my video, the beginning of this video, it is a narcissist actually who confirmed to me that I was an empath. I did not know even who I was in the first place. I did not know who I was, whereby actually later on I would discover I was an empath after meeting that second narcissist, the greater one, after leaving the other one, after the discard. I met the second one who actually confirmed to me that I was actually an empath, which brought me to the person of who I am today, because I went into more discovery and more research and actually more understanding more about myself. And that is how I became the person I am today. But on the other hand, the empath also, we have got the ability to wake up the narcissists. We can also wake them up actually to find out that these individuals, they really need help. They are broken and they really need help. Most of the empaths, when we start mirroring back, like recently I did a video about the mirroring process, when the super empath will start mirroring the narcissist. We are showing them who they are. We are showing them that actually they have got something wrong. They have got something they need to deal with. They have got something very sinister happening behind the scenes, and they need to deal with this effectively. So basically, it's two people who are trying to balance out each other. So basically, we are telling them who they are. Yes, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to know. Even they don't want to hear that. They don't want to know. But at the end of the day, we still tell them, and they still shine a light on who they really are. We tell them, we mirror them, and we tell them who they really are. And some of them, even sometimes, they have awakened to the fact that they've always been narcissists. But also, on the other hand, we have also awakened to the fact that we've always been empaths. And believe me, an awakened empath is an empath whose life will never be the same. The moment, people, I can guarantee you, because I've seen this myself, the very moment you awaken to the fact that you've always been an empath, your life will never be the same, because you will know exactly what you need to do, who to engage, where to go, and how to carry on your life from there, how to take it from there. You will know exactly what you need to do the very moment you study and the very moment you learn that you're an empath. But before that, before awakening to the fact that you're an empath, the life will always be meaningless. You will always be used. You will always be used, manipulated, taken advantage of, and done whatever. People that have always done so many things to empaths, and even sometimes go away with it. It is until you reach that point of awakening that you finally understood that, okay, so you are an empath. It is your obligation to protect your energy. It is mandatory. This is not even, there is no question about this. You have discovered you're an empath, so you are finally known that it is your obligation to protect your energy at whatever cost. It does not matter if you have got to break off with your father, mothers. If you have identified them, they are toxic. You have come to that conclusion that it is time to break all the toxic patterns and actually cut the cords from all toxic individuals you've ever encountered in your life, and time for you to step into purpose. So with that being said, guys, I come to the end of this video, and make yourself be known in the comment section below what exactly you think about this, and I would like to know from your side of the story, how has been your experience, and when did you actually find out you were an empath, and how did you react to that? Until then, guys, much love and blessings. I'll get you soon. There's more signing out.